Hi everyone, welcome back on Study Room. So, in the previous video, we have discussed population and why it is important to study population and some of its characteristics. In this video, we will be more focusing on the two major aspects of population, which is population growth and process of population change. Okay, so there are two very different terms. One is population growth. What is population growth? Second is process of population change. Okay, so we'll start discussing with population change first. Okay, um, the one and the most major thing to study here is the definition of growth of population. Growth of population is simply refer to the change in number of inhabitants, inhabitant or in a country or in a territory during a specific period of time. Okay, very simply we can understand this. For example, in this area in 2009, if there are 1 million people, then in 2000, let's say 19 maybe, in the same area there are 5 million people living. So what is this change in the population? Either the number will decrease or it will increase. Okay, so simply this is growth of population. So obviously we understand that growth of population is a dynamic process. Dynamic process means it keeps on changing. It can never be stagnant or still, or it cannot be measured in a same line. For example, in 2005, if there are n number of people living, in 2000, let's say even after 2 years, the number of people will be X. Okay, it will always change. So this is growth of population. Now, what are the reasons? So why there is growth of population? Why there is population change in population? So majorly there are just three reasons for this. First is birth or birth rate. Second is death or death rate. And third reason is migration, right? Simply these three could be only reason. If one person is moving from one place to another, what could be the reason? Either they are migrating, and if the number is increasing, it could be due to the death rate or the birth rate. All right, so this is population change. Now we will discuss in detail how this app happens and what are the reasons for it. Now population change or change in the population can be expressed. Next, and the very important term here is population change. Okay, so what is population change? Population change can be expressed in two ways. Okay, one is absolute numbers. Okay, absolute numbers means simply by subtracting with earlier population. Okay, counting the number of population by the census, by the stats, and subtracting it with the earlier population. Okay, subtracting the current population with the earlier population. So we will get to know the change in the population simply. The another reason, the second way to do is to study per year. Okay, now how do we study this per year? For example, we are talking about a area. Let's name it Jabalpur. So in Jabalpur, there is 100 people living in this in 2000. Let's say 2000, and in 2001 it's 102 people. In 2002 it's 104 people. In 2004 it's 106 people. Now what is this? Basically it refers to percentage. Okay, a particular percentage that is being constantly increasing um, with the base audience, okay, or with the base population. So in this case our base population was 100, right? And every year it got increasing by 2%. Okay, so every year it's increasing. So what is happening here? When it is increasing every year, it is annual growth rate. Okay, this is referred as annual growth rate, which may be or may not be constant. Okay, so this is the change in population. Moving on, we understand now what is the reason in the change of population, for example, these are two different areas, and in this area population is less, and in this area population is high. Now we have already studied what are the factors that influence people moving, but why exactly population change? So there are, the natural increase of population is difference. Okay, so difference we can study about birth rate, death rate, and migration. That's how we can study about the total population. First is birth rate. Birth rate is simply number of births. Okay, number of births taking place in a year or annually. Deaths means number of deaths. Okay, there are some places uh, due to health management factors where death rates are high. Okay, so it is number of death rates. Third is migration. Migration is when a person moving from one place to another in search of better job opportunities, education, or any other social or economic factor. Okay, so these are two measures on which we understand. This is a natural process in the increase of population. If the population is increasing, it might be birth rate, it might be migration as well. Okay, now we will understand in detail what is migration. Simply, if we have to understand migration, it is a one person moving from one place to another for any reason. Okay, any social or economic factor. Okay, so one person leaving from one place to another in search of better job opportunities, education, healthcare, for whatever social or economic reason. Now, the migration is of two types majorly. One is internal, second is international. Internal is when migration is within the country. Okay, the migration is within the country. For example, if you are living in Bihar, so you shifted from Bihar to Delhi in search of better educational facilities. Okay, so this is internal migration. Second is international migration. Again, international migration is moving from one place to another in search of better social or economic activities. But what is the difference? It is outside the country. Okay, as the name suggests, it is international, right? So this is basically internal and international migration. What happens is, so whenever there is internal migration, first we will talk about. So whenever there is internal migration, it will not affect the population of the country. Okay, because if you're moving from one place to another place in a country, so how will it affect, right? But if you move from one place to outside the country, it affects the population of the country, right? So this is the one major difference which happens in internal and and international migration. But in internal migration, the factors that changes are that, for example, if you're shifted from this city to this particular city or state, the age population, the sex ratio, the age ratio, and the composition. Okay, what is the composition? So composition is basically what kind of people are living. Okay, what composition is basically of what age group people are, and what is the sex of the people, they're male or they're female. Okay, so these are the composition basically. So when you migrate, even if it's internal or international, the changes are in the population size if it's international. But other than that, the compositional changes will be there. Okay, for example, in terms of age and sex ratio, important. Now, mostly migration is very, very affluent in India. It is very prevalent. We have seen people moving from one state to another. Also, you do not require passport or visa to move to another state, right? So that is why it is quite feasible to people. Now, why is that happen? Majorly, people in India move from rural to urban area. Okay, why they move from rural to urban area? Because in rural areas there are push factors. Push factor means condition or a situation which provoke people to or instigate people to leave the area. okay, to leave the particular area. For example, in rural India, we see there no electricity, no proper education facility, no job employment, and many other things where rural lack, right? So in rural areas, there are lack of facilities in basic essential needs that one requires. But in urban areas has pull factors, okay. And what is the pull factor? Pull factors are the factors that attracts the population, which are better job opportunities, better industries, better education, better health facility, right? So for example, you will not get a medical treatment of a very high profile surgery of in rural areas, but you will easily find it in urban area, okay. So that is why these are some push factors in rural areas, why people migrate from rural to urban areas. And urban areas has pull factor, which attracts the population. So this was about migration and growth of population and change in the population. In the next video, we will cover the topic characteristics of population.